In today's Warzone 2 video, we're jumping into the best settings possible that you guys need to be using. Settings in this game are more crucial than ever, with there being more customization than you've ever had in any previous Call of Duty. There's a lot of stuff you guys could potentially have that's not right. So I'm here to make sure that you guys get everything right so you can hopefully get a lot of wins in Warzone 2. If you haven't enjoyed today's video, give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. All right, so the first thing we're gonna be doing here today, fellas, we're gonna be jumping into the graphics settings here on the game. It doesn't matter if you're on console, if you're on PC, there's some different settings in here that you should be paying attention to. So let's hop into this. Just briefly though here, I'll show you guys kind of more or less what I'm working with. I do play on a dual PC setup, just to keep that in mind. I do have a 27-inch monitor here, 165 Hz refresh rate. I do have an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080 Ti. I do play on 1440p, which does make a big difference, by the way, between 1440 to 1920 by 1080. So definitely try to, if you can, play on 1440 as opposed to 1080. You will see quite a bit more. We'll get into some of the quality stuff here next, but I mean, a lot of this is going to be a little more personal preference to your system and how you kind of want your game to look, but there's some general overarching themes that you should be aware of. So I mean, of course, my render resolution's on 100. Upscaling fidelity cast is usually speaking what people are going to be playing on. Obviously, maybe NVIDIA DLSS is going to be probably better for some people that have lower end systems. It's going to make it run a little bit better, but otherwise, we're going to be doing that. The Filmic SMAAT2X, I believe this is on even console. Maybe if I'm not correct on that, I'm not exactly sure, but this is definitely a good thing to have. It pretty much makes it so that your game looks better. You sacrifice maybe a tad bit of performance ever so slightly, but it's much worth it to be able to actually be able to have Filmic SMAAT2X. Of course, my video memory scale, I switched that from 85 to 90. And then a lot of the stuff down here, I'll tell you guys this right now. You're going to want to have like normal to low settings. There's no reason for you to be running high settings. That means you're just going to bog your system down. Your PC is going to be running, not as good. You're going to be getting less frames, and obviously more frames is better. So you just should be running like normal settings to like maybe, some of this stuff, it doesn't really matter, like particle quality, but generally speaking, normal to low settings is more or less what you want to be going with. Down here into the post-processing effects and under the quality tab, which is things that pretty much everyone's gonna have access to. I mean, of course, NVIDIA Reflex low latency, I have that because I'm on PC, but this is a big thing here specifically for people on console and on PC. Depth of field, you want that to be completely off. You do not want to have any type of blur going on your screen no matter what. We don't want any blur. That's just going to make it harder to be able to see stuff. So always have depth of field off. World motion blur, you want that 110% to be off. And of course then on your weapon motion blur, that's got to be off. Like, you don't want any of this stuff on because it's just going to make your game that much more blurry. And you want to be able to pick people out from that fine, long distance. And if you just have blur going on your screen, that just makes your eyes being able to track stuff that much more difficult. So also down here, film grain, this is probably, I think, 0.25 or something like that off rip. Turn that all the way down to 0. We don't need our game to be more grainy. That just makes it harder to see stuff. The less grain there is, the easier it is to be able to pick things out, in game. So definitely have all these settings turned either off or just actually all of them off. Now, a big thing that I think a lot of people are real excited about is console FOV. I mean, PC's had FOV here for the last few years, but obviously the MW 2019 game engine, that was what Warzone was based on. That did not have console FOV, so even though it was in multiplayer for some games, it wasn't on Warzone. Now it is indeed in Warzone, so FOV here. I would encourage everybody to play at 120 FOV, just because the more FOV you have, the more you're able to see what's going on around you. And that's very big, that's a very big thing. That's very crucial for Warzone. I do believe that. I've been playing on 120 for a while, and I will not switch it down any lower just because I want to see the maximum of what's going on around me. It does make a very, very big difference. It's not going to overall improve like your gunplay. If you're still terrible, you're going to be terrible at 120, but it will help you out see more stuff. Your ADS field of view, you want this to be on affected and not independent. Affected is very crucial just because this is what makes it look like you have less recoil visually. It's not that your gun literally has less recoil, it's the fact that it doesn't zoom in. So if you're playing on 120 FOV, if you go from 120 and then you actually are playing on independent, your gun zooms all the way down into 80 FOV. So like you lose that as soon as you start zooming in. That's going to make your gun look like it bounces around a heck of a lot more. So pretty much play on affected, and then you're going to stay at that 120 the entire time, which will then in turn make your gun look like it has less recoil. And guns in MW2 and Warzone 2 have a lot more recoil than they did in MW 2019 or Warzone 1, or just any of those other previous games. My weapon field of view, I just have this on wide. Just makes the weapon look smaller, allows me to see more stuff around me. And my third person FOV, that's just at maximum right there. And then obviously down here underneath camera, this is some pretty big stuff as well. First person camera movement and third person, you want this to be the least amount possible. You don't want your camera like shaking around, moving around. The less moving of the camera you can have, definitely the better. All right, let's get into some of the meat and potatoes here. Some of the controller settings I think a lot of you guys are going to be real interested in. So my aiming input device, of course, is a controller. I play with a PS5 SCUF controller. My edit button layout here, I play on tactical flip. So you can only normally select tactical from this screen right here. You can go for a tactical. They won't say tactical flipped. What you then have to do is go down here and obviously flip it. Then that'll switch that tactical flip. But I personally don't want to melee. I want to be able to crouch, go prone with my stick instead of melee. So I will gladly switch that out. I believe tactical is a pretty massive thing, and it's definitely underused. I mean, if you can play like bumper jumper or something else like that, if you don't happen to have a SCUF controller with paddles on the back. But more or less, I've had a SCUF with paddles on the back for a while, so it gives me those extra buttons and allows me not to take my thumbs off the thumbsticks as much. But my stick layout is just default otherwise, and then my controller vibration, I just keep that on. It doesn't really matter. But here's my horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity. I play on a 6.6. I don't believe that the higher sensitivity you have, it doesn't make it like that you're better. I used to play on like an 8.8, but then I bumped it down just because I felt like at those medium to longer ranges, I was missing too many shots, and I was kind of overcorrecting my shot. So I moved it down, and when I started playing on a 6.6, I was like, okay, like this feels a lot better. I'm hitting a lot more of my shots. I still can move around just fine. I'm not getting caught like, you know, with someone breaking my camera angle. Granted, people don't really be doing that as much here on MW2 just because there's no like slide canceling and stuff like that, or there really isn't to that degree there was in MW 2019/Warzone 1. But you guys get what I'm saying. Like, it's just, this is a very good sensitivity to try out if you feel like you're struggling with something. Then my ADS sensitivity multiplier is a 0.9 instead of a 1.0. That means that, you know, at a 1.0 that I have a 6.6 sensitivity, but then I bumped it down a little bit. So when I ADS, it slows me down even more, so it makes it harder for me to get off target. My sensitivity multiplier here is just pretty simple. I don't have that on anything else other than just like the 1.0. I do not change that at all. No reason for you guys to go ahead and do that. My aim down sight behavior is just, of course, on hold, and then my automatic sprint here is on automatic tactical sprint. So I put it on automatic tac sprint just because this is going to save this is gonna save your controller. So 100% run the automatic tac sprint. You guys need to be doing this. Like, it is a very, very crucial setting to have in terms of making sure that your controller has a bit of a longer life to it. So definitely go ahead and run automatic tac sprint. Now in Warzone here, you're gonna want to change your interact/reload behavior from tap to reload to tap to interact. Tap to interact basically means to, you know, pick up things, just to be able to, like, you know, pick up loot off the ground. That's more or less like how it was contextual tap in Warzone 1. This is the version of contextual tap, so definitely go ahead and run, like, you know, tap to interact here. You guys can definitely prioritize reload. You know, the reload and interact are available simultaneously. Tap to reload and then hold to interact, but I would definitely say more or less you want to go for tap to interact. Just that way it's super easy to pick up stuff off the ground. If you're used to contextual tap, this is the same thing. Another setting down here, armor plate behavior, you want to have apply all, so that way when you press triangle or Y, whatever it is for you, or whatever it is on your keyboard, that it just applies every single plate you have as opposed to applying one at a time. That can kind of get you in some sticky situations. Now into the aim assist and everything. I know this is kind of a hot topic for discussion, but my target aim assist is just on. My gyro behavior, of course, is off. I don't really know what this does, so we definitely are not going to mess with that. But my aim assist type is just default. I don't play with any of the precision focusing or Black Ops. I know they actually nerfed the Black Ops aim assist because it's a little bit too OP. So we've been running with default anyway, so it doesn't really affect me. But if you're running Black Ops and you feel like you're missing too many shots, you should definitely go ahead and switch out of that. Probably go down to like default. Otherwise though, we're gonna go down here just a little bit, and one of the big things is that my aim response curve type is on dynamic. So what this means is that my stick does not do the exact same thing the entire way through. Linear means that you have the same fine aim rate control the entire way through, and it doesn't, you know, ramp up or slow down. This, in my opinion, dynamic helps you stay a little bit more on target by either ramping it up or slowing it down a little bit. And it's very, very beneficial, in my opinion, to run dynamic over linear. I've been doing this for a while now, and my aim is, you know, definitely gotten a lot better since switching over. Also, my ADS sensitivity multiplier focus is just on 1.0. I don't have any custom sensitivities per zoom. And then my input dead zones here, honestly, I really haven't changed this all that much just because I feel like my controller could potentially have a little bit of stick drift and stuff like that. So I don't really want to mess with it, but to keep in mind, if you do have stick drift, the lower you make this dead zone, the more prone your controller is to just kind of, you know, move a little bit by itself. Everyone's controller at some point will get some of that. But just keep in mind, dead zones really aren't that big of a deal. It doesn't matter too much. But you guys can definitely mess them. It's really not going to like make or break your game. This is just kind of like, you know, does your controller have stick drift? Does it not? You know, you can try it for yourself. Here's another fun setting: grounded mantle, airborne mantle, ground mantle. I just have this stuff on off just because like random mantles is not what I'm trying to go for, and it's like frankly kind of annoying when I just randomly mantle different things. Like, we don't need that. I'd rather just manually do it myself, so we're not going to go for those automatic mantles. It's definitely not the way to go on this thing. Next up, I want to take you guys in here into the interface tab, because this is going to be something that's going to make your game look a little bit better. And so I want to be able to show you something that I believe is going to help benefit you guys. I found this myself just on TikTok, and I was looking through and I was like, okay, this definitely got some truth to it, and some other people have been talking about it. So we're gonna go in here underneath the readability side. We're gonna go down to the color customization. So color customization, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the color filter. We're gonna change this from none to filter 2. This is going to help you guys just, you know, of course, see a little bit more. So color filter target, we're going to put this on both, not just interface and world. And the color world intensity, we're going to put this at a 70, your interface color intensity at 100. And then as you guys can be able to see here, your HUD color palette is going to be on Tritanopia. So definitely go ahead and throw that on there, and that will change everything down here. This should be more or less like, I think, a yellow off rip. But what you want to do is just change, you know, you over to like, you know, a white, just so you can see yourself. That's, I think, a pretty classic thing on the mini map right there, or I think lime green or something like that at some point was, but more or less white works really good in this game. Then we have, you know, light blue for your teammates, dark blue for your party. Enemies are red. That's very easy to be able to see. Neutral is white, and then of course contested is yellow. It just makes your life a heck of a lot easier, and allows the game also just to look a little bit better, a little bit more vibrant. Kind of brings the game a little bit more to life, as the color palette's not necessarily the, you know, most vibrant. There's another big one down in here, your mini map shape. This is something I feel like a lot of people don't really realize. They may not mess with it too much, but go change this from round to square. If you see anybody running around with a round mini map, that means they're a bot. Frankly, like, no good player runs around with a round mini map. It's always a square. You get to see more on the square mini map. Like, you can literally look at the picture in your settings. You'll be able to see that, hey, the square mini map, you see more on it. Like, you genuinely do, just because, you know, the shape, it's a square instead of a circle. So definitely go and run the square mini map all the time, as opposed to the round one. Don't ever run the round mini map. And lastly, I'll show you guys a little bit of the audio settings. This is where it comes down a lot of personal preference. It's not like there's a goated sort of, you know, audio setting to be able to have here in Warzone 2. I mean, like in Warzone 1, there was like, I think it was audio boost low or high, and like you could be able to hear footsteps better. But just because the footsteps and everything are so loud in this game, there's not really like a #1 preset for you guys to be able to have. Maybe they'll update a little bit more as the game goes on, but otherwise I'm just running the headphone bass boost. Even then, that may be a little bit too much, so I may just switch over to the headphones. But otherwise, my master volume's at 100, my music volume is at 0. You want your music volume at 0 just because, I mean, obviously if you don't mind listening to it in the main menu, that's cool, but you do start to get music in game, and we don't want that. That's really annoying, and that will definitely mess you up when you're trying to focus up when music starts kicking in. So always put that at 0. Also, a fun new addition right here, proximity chat. If you want to have some real fun moments, proximity chat's going to be on. It's down here. Just make sure you keep that on. It's actually pretty funny. I've seen a lot of great clips of it already, even though it's only day 1 of Warzone 2. So definitely keep proximity chat on. All right, well, that's all the good settings here for you guys in Warzone 2. We've covered pretty much everything you need to know. If you guys happen to have enjoyed today's video, want to see more like this, give it a like, subscribe, those notifications turned on. I hope to see you back around on the channel. Just for an Captain, I'll be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.